Marvel Rivals' biggest misconceptions, especially for players that are Hardstuck or players that play this game a lot but can't seem to rank up, especially if they play support or tank. I think this video is really for them. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to Marvel Rivals is that you have to play a certain way in order to rank up. And you'll see this a lot in like Diamond, Plat, Grandmaster, kinda in Celestial, from what I've seen. But the way these people play is that they will try to follow the best team composition that they see online, or they see like the vast majority of people do. It is like when you play ranked and someone says, why are we solo tanking? Why do we have triple DPS? Yeah, it's those people that basically are just complaining about like, so not having a balanced team is like what gets them tripped up. What doesn't get them tripped up though is probably seeing triple support, because from their perspective, more heals, especially if you're doing bad, is better. But this is what I mean, that people try to follow these rules so much to the point where like they think just by following these rules that they're magically gonna get better at this game, or they're magically gonna rank up. And for lower ranks, especially Diamond, this answer is probably like the best answer, especially if you're in low ranks. Because just like following a simple team composition, fixing like simple mistakes about like not pushing up when you don't need to, pancaking, you know, simple stuff like that can easily help you get out low ranks. But it becomes more difficult once you're facing with people who have like a lot of hours in this game and are constantly ranking up or stuck on a particular rank, is that these people don't follow these rules at all. And the only reason why people follow these rules is because they can't really think for themselves. People just want like a certain rank and that's it. And I see this mostly with supports and tanks that are hard stuck and they're like level 60 to like 100. They will follow these rules to like a T. So yeah, once you start meeting people that play in different type of ways, that's when you really gotta implement your own play style into this game. And if you try to force the right answer or the simple answers that help you in low ranks all the time, then you end up making the wrong decision instead. Because not every right answer is applied to every situation. It is why you kind of need like the good awareness to know when to make the decisions. Because you could have all the right answers, but knowing when to use them and when not to use them is probably way more important than knowing them. But I'm getting sidetracked where I'm saying that like there's no specific way to play this game at all. Especially since there's no role queue. People literally make up whatever composition they want and stick with it. The only reason why sometimes it doesn't work is because you just get bot teammates, or your teammates are just playing whatever. They're just holding W. So the team composition never gets to work and decision making never gets to work. Alright, second thing is the mindset. This kind of ties in really to the first point I just made. But your mindset kind of dictates everything. And it is where you kind of meet the snobs of Marvel Rivals, especially if they really follow my first point where they keep trying to play in the quote-unquote the correct way, where like let's say they know how to use their ult, they're pretty good at it, they're always doing the right decisions, but sometimes they need a little bit of like, how you say it, like they need a little bit more nuance. They need to play in a different type of way, because obviously trying to do a balanced team comp and it's not working, something needs to switch up. But these players don't know how to do that at all, because they believe in their methods only. They believe in the correct way. And the snobs is like, yeah, they're playing good, but the thing is they don't want to adapt at all. Like if you wholeheartedly believe that like playing a certain way is gonna get you a rank, if someone was to say otherwise, that's when they don't commit to playing a certain way. Their mindset is so focused on what they believe that they will literally never be open to like any type of different variation of playstyles. And what I mean by this is like, if they don't believe it, they're basically preying on his downfall low-key. And when you have that mindset, you don't go in with the full confidence of trying to make it work. You're just kind of passively there looking at it and playing like a little bit in and out. You're kind of just rubber banding back and forth between wanting to commit and not committing at all. And this is where like most people don't end up changing at all, because they're like, all right, I'm gonna just try it. But if they're not fully open to it, then they never end up really giving it a good chance or a fair shot. They never give it a fair chance of actually trying it. All right, I think I already said this in the first point, but this is where you really need the awareness, the understanding, or it's like the eye for certain things. And this is kind of like where you see like especially top players or specific type of players that never play this game but are somehow higher ranked than you, even though they have like less hours, they know less about the game. It's usually not because they know more in terms of how this game is played. Maybe they don't know certain mechanics, certain tips and tricks, like knowing how to like, I don't even know, like knowing how to cancel a dash, knowing how to do specific things. stuff like that. They might not know any of those things, but they do have a good understanding on when to initiate, when not to initiate, how to play more defensively, stuff like this, where it just takes years of just playing games to understand. And most people like this, especially if this is your first game. People really don't have this because they're too nervous and too like scared to try anything out, or most of them just want to get to a certain rank, especially if this game is your first game. All you probably want to do is just like reach, probably like, I'm guessing if you play this game, you probably want to reach like Celestial or at least Eternity, and then probably just get off for the night. I mean, probably just stop playing this game afterwards. But that's what I mean. Most people just want to do that. But when you end up moving in that way, you end up just not developing that keen awareness or developing your own style of play. And once you don't, when you're not doing that, you're not thinking for yourself, then you don't really develop that eye, that awareness, the understanding of certain situations. And like I said, this goes way beyond just knowing basic mechanics. This goes above, like, I think when it comes into like professional, it's called IGL. Basically, being the in-game leader is like knowing stuff like that. Now, gameplay styles is kind of like that. It's kind of like a checklist you need to do in order to find their certain play style. And the thing about it is that on how to play their favorite hero or how to rank up in the best ways possible. But most people don't really develop the play stage. But in order to find gameplay styles is usually to watch other people or to see professionals play this game. Now, this is what I really mean is that like this game really, when it comes to play style, it can be the shortcut of your understanding. So what I mean by that is that, like, let's say you don't have like a lot of hours in other games, or you don't really have like a good understanding or a keen eye for reading situations in games. What you can do is copy people's playstyles, and when you copy them, depending on how your mind works, it might interpret it, it might get you to the answer to what you're looking for, which is basically helping you develop a keen eye that you don't have. You know how people are just different learners? That's basically what I'm trying to say. There isn't like one. Most people do follow a specific playstyle and it does get them results, but most of these people add a little bit of their own touch to it. That's why they end up breaking up. They don't follow everything to a T. I think all of my points are basically tying into each other, but now we have is the confidence. Now, confidence, you kind of just get it from like basically testing yourself and succeeding. But this is what I mean, like most people don't have confidence in themselves because they don't want to get the right, they don't want to be wrong, especially if they're trying to rank up and they care so much about ranking up. The last thing they want to do is experiment, try to do different things, try to go out of their bubbles to basically, they don't want to risk losing the game is basically what I'm trying to say. But this is where the misconception really comes, is where people think they do have the confidence simply because they tell themselves they should have it because they have like a lot of hours in this game. They have like champion icons on like 5 heroes on like 3 different roles or some shit. But the thing is that most of the time that never works because they know deep down they don't really have the confidence, especially if they're Hardstuck or they've been playing this game for a lot of time. They probably think to themselves like, yo, I should have been a higher rank by now. So when it comes to confidence, I'm just going to skip ahead and basically say that like once you develop your own gameplay style and once you develop your own way of looking at the game, your confidence naturally comes in. And what I mean by this is like you initiate team fights, you initiate different type of gameplay styles instead of waiting for people to do it, especially on your team. And you will see this, like you will literally get the urge to like take a different type of team fight, but not only just like saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna take it because I don't care. You're taking it because you actually believe that it can actually work. And then even if you lose that team fight or they didn't go as planned, it's usually from, you really can't really fully blame it on yourself. What I mean by this is like you can't fully blame it on your confidence is what I'm trying to say. Like if you end up losing that, you can blame it on yourself for your team's sake. Like since you're playing as a team, you can blame it for your team. You can be like, yeah, that's my fault because I don't want my team to lose. I don't want to lose this match. But if your teammates were on the same page and if you guys were on the same page and were committed to the game and committed to the call out you made, then it probably would have worked. And if it worked, that basically is showing you that your confidence is playing a big role, especially when you develop your understanding and your own gameplay style. Alright, I think this is like the second to last point. And the last point is going to tie everything up, but to give you like a thing that can help you develop this, besides, studying how other people play and trying to understand how they play. If you really want to do like the raw point, basically do it yourself. It's basically trying to understand yourself. And the only way to understand yourself is basically to watch out how you play and how you think about and how you think when you're playing. And this is very hard, especially when you start getting good at it, because at a certain point, there's going to be things called like, I don't know how you say it. I think they're called like, I don't even know if they have a name, but the way I would describe it are just blinks. Where like if you catch yourself saying a particular thing to yourself, the moment you gain a full conscious awareness ends up disappearing. And I think people realize this when like they're performing at something. They say like you're working out or like you're playing or you're having fun. The moment you realize you're having fun, the moment the fun goes away. Like basically that's what I'm trying to say. Is like the moment you become aware of it disappearing. When you become aware, you gotta be aware. So when you're becoming aware of your own decision making and your own thought process, there's gonna be certain little things that's gonna tell you to do something otherwise, and it's up to you to make that conscious effort to stop. And that's what I mean where like if you want to develop this yourself, you need to watch out or basically understand how you play and what you say to yourself and how you think. Because this is easy to get like a coach, and he will basically highlight all the common problems you have and then go a little bit above and beyond, which is basically talk to you and basically try to figure out what's your biggest weakness. The thing is, you can do this yourself, which is basically just self-reflecting in the most honest ways possible. Best possible way to do this, well, I don't even say the best way, but I think like the way people fuck it up is usually they end up being too judgmental on themselves. When they end up cursing themselves out, or they end up giving themselves label like, bro. For example, they'll be like, bro, I'm bad at this game. That means I'm bad at everything. That means you're garbage. That means you can't be garbage no more. That means you have to improve. Like they talk down to themselves because they think it gives them motivation. It's like calling yourself trash over and over, thinking like that's motivation right there, or that's somehow gonna make you better. But when you talk to yourself like that, you end up being like bad. Not bad, but you can say that to yourself, but most people aren't aware being judgmental to yourself on that level. Like I can call myself bad, but I understand what I did was bad. Most people will say they're bad or trash, not knowing what they're saying to themselves harms them, but they think it's doing good. I don't know if I explained it well, but basically just be aware of how you talk to yourself. Don't be judgmental about it, and I think you will improve. And here's my last point, what kind of wraps all of this up together, is that the biggest misconception I see in rank play all the time is thinking that there's a right way to play this game. I'm going to tell you right now, especially if you're Hardstuck, and especially if you keep losing games, is that there is no right way to play. And the thing is, there has to be a balance between playing the right way and playing in your type of way. Because you will see a lot of, I think this affects DPS players a lot, or people that usually get MVP in their matches, but they're still Hardstuck, is that they play in a good way, especially in their own way, but they become too prideful to the point where like, they become like that person I said in my third point, where like they don't really try to be open-minded, or they don't leave anything up for interpretation. What I mean by that is that like they don't really like, they will see a different playstyle, they'll try to commit to it, but part of their mind doesn't want to commit with full confidence. It just wants to think it just wants their own biases to be right. They don't want anything else to be right, so they're not going to fully commit. And as soon as it fails, or as soon as seems like it doesn't working, they abandon it and they call it trash. So yeah, basically there is no right way to play this game. Try to be more nuanced when you play this game, and I think you would not be Hardstuck, or you just improve. Also, another thing is don't try hard. Like what I mean by that is that don't sink in like 8 hours a day, play like 20 ranked matches in one day, thinking that if you pour more hours you get good. Doing more isn't always the best option. If you reflect on your gameplay, you basically will get better.